Deputy Terence Flanagan is question number 8.
We'll ask Concordia. Just ask the Minister in relation to the Howth Fisheries Harbour and the other 5 fishery harbours as to the tendering process, and just if you could comment as well on the Public Accounts Committee and the report that they produced recently about the underutilisation of assets at the fishery harbours.
Thank you. Minister number 8.
The property portfolio in Howth, one of 6 fishery harbour centres managed and operated by my department, encompasses a range of diverse properties reflecting its remit as a working fisheries harbour and its unique features, which facilitate a broad range of other diverse activities which are important both from an economic and social perspective in Howth. My department's aim, working with the government's framework for the management of state property and relevant legal frameworks, is to ensure that the sites within this diverse portfolio generate a competitive economic return while fostering a diverse range of maritime activities. In this context, my department reviews the portfolio of properties on an ongoing basis in order to maximise those returns to the Exchequer. Some properties in Howth Fisheries Harbour Centre may appear vacant, however they can and in many cases are subject to tenancy arrangements. There are 8 vacant properties currently in Howth, not subject to existing tenancy arrangements. Of these, 2 are made available by competitive public tender were made available, I should say, by competitive public tender on the 15th of June last, and details of the competitions can currently be viewed on my department's website. A further 2 properties are currently subject to legal, operational or planning considerations and can't be made available for tenancy until these issues are resolved. These issues are being progressed, and when appropriate, further tendering competitions will be publicly advertised. The remaining 4 properties are not considered suitable for tender at the moment.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Terence Flanagan.
And thank the Minister for his response. And no doubt, Minister, you're very familiar with Howth. I know you've visited there on many occasions in the past, but it's a source of frustration really as a local deputy, as it is for Deputy Brown as well, that we have business owners coming to us on a constant basis who are expressing interests into some of these vacant properties. I mean, for instance, in some of the properties, there's materials actually being stored by the department, so they're not actually being run on a commercial basis. And if the department is not able or capable of actually utilising and ensuring that the taxpayer gets bang for its buck, I mean, you need to hand these properties over to a commercial auctioneers who will look after them and ensure that they're actually put out properly to tendering. So there's major concerns. I mean, the Public Accounts Committee have been out there, they've visited it. The chairman, John McGuinness in particular, was hugely critical of the underutilisation of resources, and a lot more needs to be done there, Minister, in order to ensure that they're used to full capacity. I mean, there's huge potential here for job creation. As you know, Howth is at the end of the Dart line. It's one of the most scenic areas in the city. And,
thank you, Deputy.
More needs to be done.
Minister.
More is being done, Deputy. There's more than the chair of the PSC who've been commenting on this. And actually, the PSC chose to go and visit Howth, which they, of course, are entitled to do. They were shown around by people who have an interest in these properties and are looking to actually get access to them. And my department got an opportunity on the 20th of May to respond to the committee's draft report and the financial management of the Fisheries Harbour centres. And I think the approach of the PAC committee changed after that response. And I think you know yourself that actually some of the people who are advocating for properties to be made available to them in Howth have a history with the department in terms of complex tenancy arrangements, where in some cases rent has not been paid. And we have a responsibility to do a number of things. We have a responsibility to Howth to make sure that there's a proper fisheries harbour run there, and the management of that is professional and well run and in the interest of the local community. We also have an obligation to make sure that we run our fisheries harbours in a commercial manner so that we can pay for their upkeep and so that I can invest in places like Howth.
Thank you, Minister.
Which we're being asked to invest in all the time and which we've made considerable investments in recent years. So this is not as simple. There are reasons why certain properties have not been made available. The ones that are ready for tenancy are now being put up to competitive tender, and we will we'll look to get those tenancy arrangements in place in a fair and transparent and competitive way soon.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Terence Flanagan.
And for not keeping proper accounts and the proper financial management systems up to date, and in relation to dispute resolution mechanisms as well, that they're not proper ones in place. But the people on the ground, I mean, the business owners are basically saying they're not happy with the decision making, that a lot of it's being made in Clonakilty, that there's a lack of face-to-face, I suppose, accountability in relation to decision-making. There are long delays as well, getting letters answered. And at the Harbour Users Forum, that all it is just a box-ticking exercise. So there is criticism there. Maybe some of it's invalid in what's being said, but that's what we're hearing on the ground, not myself and Deputy Brown as local TDs. So we're here to articulate that to yourself, and obviously asking you to ensure that any bureaucracy, any red tape is basically put to bed, and to ensure that more jobs are created out in Howth.
Thank you, Minister. To conclude.
That's what
We're looking for too. But we have to make sure that that the tenants we have are people who pay their rent, that have accessed those tenancy arrangements under a fair and transparent competitive process, that we have businesses that are in the interests of the broader community in terms of development and employment in Howth, which of course we need to do. And that takes time. So, you know, we're managing 6 fisheries harbours at the same time. There are problems in terms of tenancies and properties in some of those harbours, more so than in others. And I am very conscious, and we've spoken about this before, that there are vacant properties in Howth. They're valuable properties. They should be busy places of commercial activity, and that's where we need to get to. But I think you know, we need to be careful about how we do that, and we also need to ensure that the people that actually are the successful tenants in those facilities are people who actually pay their rent.
Thank you, Minister.
And I don't think that's an unreasonable ask.
Now,